My name is Ryan Proudfoot, and this is my story. I grew up in a small town called Lindale, Texas. You've probably never heard of it. From a young age, my parents took me to church. When I was 11 years old, my parents divorced, and I went off with my mom, and we weren't really involved in the church anymore. I specifically remember one time when I was 14 years old. I was invited to this Christian rock concert down the street at my school. And at the end of the show, I remember they stop and they start telling this story of how God loved me so much that He sent His Son Jesus Christ to die on the cross for me. You gotta stand up. And it was that night that I believed that the story of Christ and the gospel was planted inside of me. But as you all know, I walked off. None of my life changed. It seemed like everything that I did, I got in trouble for. And I went home one day and I was sitting with my mom and she said, "Ryan, this has got to change." And she transferred me to this private boarding school about 45 minutes away. I remember going to this school and they would teach me the Bible and they would worship and all these things, and I knew it to be true, but it didn't seem like my life was transformed by the message of Christ. I remember when I was 17 years old, I started getting pretty good at the sport of baseball. I started having some colleges calling me, offering me scholarships. I chose to come to the University of Texas at San Antonio to play baseball. I remember coming up here, I thought to myself, you know, when I come to college, I'm really going to turn my life around. I'm going to start reading my Bible, and I'm going to start following God. I'm going to stop partying and being like the rest of these baseball guys. And I definitely didn't follow through on that. I got involved in the casual party scene just like every other baseball player on the team, and definitely fell away from Christ. When I was 20 years old, I remember sitting on my couch, and I was sitting there praying. I was talking to God. I was just saying, "God, I know that You're real. And I know that Your Son Jesus has died for me, but I have these things in my hand that are in my life that I'm not willing to give up to follow You." It wasn't until my junior year on October 31st, 2008 that I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. Through a set of circumstances and troubles that I brought myself to, I remember going back to my apartment on Halloween night, shutting the door behind me, getting on my knees, and just crying out to God. And it was like the next day my life was changed. I didn't want to go back to the parties. I didn't want to go back to the girls. I don't want to go back to those things. I had a hunger for God's Word and for seeking Him and growing in a relationship with Him. It was at that point that I remember I was sitting on my couch one day and I had a guitar. I had this desire to pray, and I said, "God, what do You want me to do with this? Is there something that You want me to do with this instrument?" And I prayed, "God, if there is, will You give me a song about You?" And that day I sat down, pulled out a piece of paper, and I wrote my first Christian song. It probably took me 3 minutes to write this song. I mean, I nailed it out. And every day I did this for probably 2 months, to the point where I had over 40 Christian songs or something. And I just had a desire to write music and to sing for the Lord. And I remember I called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes up at UTSA. Honestly, I had no idea how to lead worship. So what I did was I'd print off my songs and give everyone a copy of it, and then I would sing it and play it, and everyone would be totally lost. It was my first opportunity to sing and write Christian music. And through 3 years of serving now with FCA, volunteering, I'm now full-time with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes as a minister here in San Antonio. You know, I look at where I'm at right now and the opportunity to release my first CD ever. God has seriously worked out everything in my life to get me here. I see how God has worked in my life and through this music, and I'm so thankful for the opportunities that He's given me every day. And I pray that this music that God has given me will just be a blessing for people. My hope for any of this, in this CD and music, or any time I ever speak anywhere, is that people would come to know what it's like to follow in a relationship with Jesus, and that He would change their life. To be a slave of sin and to be set free from that, to follow in what Jesus has for my life, has brought me so much joy. And it provides me a purpose here so that I can join an intimate relationship with God and go out to these middle schools, high schools, colleges through a CD, any way that I can get the message out, to tell people the good news that you could be forgiven and come back to an intimate relationship with Him. My name is Ryan Proudfoot, and this is my story.